Hey, besties.
Hey,
Welcome back for another episode of the Hello Bestie podcast. I'm Maggie.
I'm Tashima.
And it's book club day.
Welcome.
If you guys will recall, the book that we chose for this month was The Pivot Year by Brianna Wiest. And we thought it would be a good pick because it's the beginning of the year, new beginnings and such. So to tell you a little bit about The Pivot Year, it's a very interesting book because it's not one where a specific story is being told. It's a self-help book of basically, okay, let me read this little thing. So, an overview. The Pivot Year is a self-help book by Brianna Wiest that explores the idea of a single year as a catalyst for personal growth and change. The book offers 365 daily meditations to help readers find the courage to become who they want to be. And that's basically what it is. Now, I read the book straight through. It is on my buy list. I would like to go back and do it a day at a time, but I don't know. Some of the, day one was just so interesting. I just, control. I want all of this. So, all right. So for starters, how would you rate this book on a scale of 1 to 5 stars?
I have a confession.
Okay.
Didn't finish it.
You didn't finish it? Okay.
I didn't want to tell you until I had to.
So we're on camera and everyone can see my reaction. Thank you for that.
I think you'd be calm. You'd handle it very accordingly. This is Maggie under pressure. She's really mad right now, just so you know. This is her professional face.
I'm smiling like a fool. Go on, Tashima.
So I didn't finish it. The parts that I listened to, I think I got to right around the time that I did the audio. Wait, am I supposed to listen to this day by day? I didn't realize.
That was a week ago.
I know.
Wow.
Well, I didn't realize that this wasn't a regular read all the way through book until I'm like, why is this saying day this, day that? And then after talking, I realized it was more meant to be you listen to or you read a chapter a day. And the parts of it that I listened to, so let's say maybe 35, 40 days in, something like that, I enjoyed, but I did not want to keep reading it like a book.
Okay.
I want to start with day one and putting each day into practice and building it that way. Because one audiobook queen here, is it the author who did the book?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
No.
Her voice is a snooze. And
I like her voice, giving the content of what's being said.
I couldn't focus.
Okay.
Especially knowing okay, I'm on day this, but I didn't even have the opportunity to practice day one. So, okay. With that being said, I can't say. I haven't finished it.
Okay.
But I want to finish it, and I want to do day by day.
So am I, are we going to spoil this for you? Because you know how you don't like spoilers, and there are days that I know that I flagged that you haven't gotten to yet.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, I just couldn't find myself actually I found myself thinking about other things and missing what they're talking about because I'm okay, well, I'm on day 30, but I haven't I don't even know if this applies yet. I haven't put in any of these other things into practice. I felt like I was ahead of where I was supposed to be.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. I remember you saying, am I supposed to read it one at a time? I said, well, it's 365 days. It's supposed to be the pivot year, a step a day to get you to be the person that you want to be type of thing. But I just liked it so much. I just wanted to read the whole thing, and then I'll go back and reference it. I tried to buy this on Amazon. It's not a 2-day thing. It's pretty high in demand book. It takes a while to get to you, and then I went and tried to put it in my cart, and there were only 2 left or something like that.
Wow.
It's not available at the library. There's multiple weeks wait. So
really?
A lot of people are really into it, I guess. Yeah. No, I found it very inspirational.
Interested in it. So what do you rate it, having read it?
A 5.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a good reference to continue going back to. And there were some quotes that I would even print out and put on my wall just to keep as a constant reminder. It was just full of little paragraphs like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and it varied, one chapter, one page could be a long paragraph or a whole page, and then something else could be 2 or 3 sentences. It just varies. So
And I really look forward to doing it day by day and having this be something. So just to kind of like be all over, before I started actually listening to it, I had started the book you recommended, Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies. And so going from that,
which is by Tara Schuster,
right? Yeah. But that is also narrated by her, correct? So she has a lot of personality, animated in the way that she's describing things, very engaging, speaking to you. Going from that to the narrator of the Pivot Year, night and day. Yeah. So I went from feeling very pumped up and excited about like this journey of kind of getting back to figuring out who I am at this point in my life to then like wah 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 wah, but wanting to combine the two, but in the moment. Does that make sense?
It does. The Pivot Year gives the vibe of like very yoga, very calm, very spiritual, and Tara's very animated, like get off your ass type of person. So it's like the same point, but very two different deliveries, right?
Yeah. So I like Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies. Definitely read through and through. Go back. I want the physical book. I want to take notes. I want to put it into practice. But I like the idea of journaling every day with 3 pages or however many pages I can get to. Right. And then having the motivational page of the Pivot Year, walking out of the door, having the intention. Yes. Like, I feel like the
that
two
sounds
should
like a good plan.
Be married.
Yeah.
And so then when I got to that point and I realized it was like a day by day thing, I was like, but I'm not ready yet. And so I basically pulled back and I was like, okay, she's not gonna like it, but I'm gonna put this on pause. But I feel like once I explain
you would have told me, like we just told the Bes-teas, you got a week left. Meanwhile, this bitch is sitting over here as a shit herself.
I literally was like, blink, blink, blink. I felt like once I explained my intent, you would be less pissed off.
I would have canceled this episode, and she knows that.
And I know. And
she knows that. That's why she didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Fucking bitch.
Because as soon as I messaged you, like, well, we can change it. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Keep it as is. Stay the course.
Oh, we know each other too well.
Yeah.
An asshole. Okay. All right. So why did you think this was going to be a good idea? To wring her neck off camera. Okay. Do you have any like quotes that you've seen so far in there that you like? Okay. This is why you said I was driving this episode. Yeah. Got to start reading between those lines. Okay.
I'm getting hot. Besties, it's possible that if you don't see an episode next week, it's because you should alert the authorities that something may have happened to me as soon as this episode is over.
Cry for help. I have a few quotes, like a few of the chapters, you know? So one of them that really motivated me, and I don't know if this is one that you've come across yet or not, but maybe you don't need to find more energy. Maybe you just need to find a dream that makes you actually want to get up in the morning. Maybe you need to find something that gives back more than it takes. Maybe you need to stop trying to be good at the 100 things that do not light up your soul and finally choose the one that does. The one that asks you to risk, to lay your heart bare, to try again, even though you're scared. You're not failing because you're not motivated. You're not supposed to get far on a path that was never yours to walk. Which is true.
Yeah.
Especially the last part, because you can feel like, man, why isn't this working? And I should be trying harder, and I should have more motivation. It's kind of like, it's not supposed to work out. Just you need to accept that and then move on. Okay. This was day 13. You tell life what you want, and life tells you how to get it. When you ask for soulmate love, you must listen if life says, but not with them. When you ask for prosperity, you must listen if life says, but not like this. When you ask for belonging, you must listen if life says, but not here. What feels on the surface like rejection is often redirection. When you ask for a big life, you cannot keep fighting for a smaller one to stay.
Mm.
Which I think in itself is a huge life lesson that people are constantly
Yeah.
learning, just understanding when, you know, if you're a spiritual person or a believer, like if God is closing a door or trying to close a door and you keep jamming your foot in and opening it because you feel like, no, this is me giving up. This is, and sometimes it's like, no, like
and then
just,
you wonder why your foot hurts.
yeah, it's like, let me work here.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta like, you're asking me for help. You're asking to change, but you gotta actually change. You got to do something
and
different
you
to
have to
get
be
something
willing
different.
to listen.
Yeah.
It's hard though, and we've spoken about this off camera. It's hard to listen. Like you ask for, you pray, you ask for guidance, whether it's God, Buddha, the universe, Allah, whatever
Right.
your
Whatever
path.
you believe in.
But when you ask for these signs and then it's given to you, there's so many times where we start to doubt what we just asked for. And it's not even necessarily like trying to keep the door open on purpose. It's like, well, maybe if I try a little bit harder, or maybe if I do this, or, well, like you just have so many reasons to just not listen to the advice that you just asked for.
Right.
And I think sometimes you just have to trust the process and, like the old cliche, let go and let God. Like, just be willing to say, take the wheel.
Yeah.
Because clearly I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I can't be trusted.
Another one that this is day 9, and I know I'm like skipping around, but this is just, whatever pain you think you're in right now cannot begin to compare to the peace that will one day come over you. It cannot begin to compare to the joy you will one day know. You will fall in love with life again, and it will be better than it was before because you will become a different person. You will become someone who is more capable of appreciating what matters, who will not be as reckless with their choices, who can no longer be so easily swayed or mindlessly trusting. You will require a new level of integrity within your life, which will transpire into better boundaries and a more stable foundation. You will strengthen in the most unexpected ways, and from that, your happiness will be even more sincere, even more apparent. This will not happen overnight, though it will seem like it did in retrospect. Like the changing of a season, everything shifts slowly until all of a sudden you are standing firmly in the after, and all you feared would never come. You're through it, but you're different because something also moved through you and cleared out what you didn't even realize what was standing in the way.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
And that one that was at the point where I really started to pay attention. And I was like, wait, hold on. Because I like I said, I wasn't super engaged, and I didn't realize until like a little ways in that these things aren't necessarily connected.
Yeah.
And then I started paying attention to day this, day that. And I was like, wait a minute. This is good stuff. But I want to, like that one really spoke to me.
Yeah. Divvy it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Another one like and those are longer ones, but there are some shorter ones too. Personal transformation requires both self-awareness and self-compassion. Learning to be kind to yourself can help you overcome setbacks and stay on track. Fear and discomfort are natural parts of the personal growth process. Learning to embrace them can help you overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. I mean, if you're into stuff like this, if you're into growth and self-discovery, it's a great book to read. It really is one of those that makes you take a look at yourself. And I think, hindsight is only, like she said, now you're firmly standing in the after.
Yeah.
This thing that you just went through, you went through it, here you are. At the time, it seemed like a slow grind, but when you're like removed from a situation, it's always easier to look back.
Oh, yeah.
And,
hindsight is 20/20.
Like they say, yeah. So that, and then she says several different things that are just like, you cannot change what you refuse to confront. And basically, I don't think I wrote this one down, but one of the ones that I really liked essentially saying, if you're dreaming about something, if you have like a passion that's on your heart, something that you want to do, that wouldn't even be a thought in your head if you weren't totally capable of doing it. You keep having this thing, and then it made me think about big magic too, like the whole how ideas work, how Liz Gilbert was saying. So I don't know, it just makes you think of times in your life when there were signs or just
It's like, could you paint the Mona Lisa if you didn't have the capability of even thinking that you could paint a Mona Lisa?
Right.
Like, you'd have to have the capability to even think that you could.
Right. Exactly.
That's really cool. I like that.
So I don't know. It's one of those like very self-reflective. I am gonna buy the book. I do want to do it day by day, like I said, but
yeah, same.
yeah, well, clearly, I just had to like.
You know how grudges over here.
But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good read. Would you recommend it to someone based off what you've seen so far? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Especially being at the beginning of the year and, you know, representative of new beginnings and all of that.
Yeah.
It just gets me very excited for let's work on this.
Yeah.
You know, all the way around because it is very different. I don't want to say that they're similar, but I think together it's very powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies, there's Tara Schuster just basically talks about how she had to learn to reparent herself. At the time, she had a very successful career, was young, doing well, but just like was very depressed and very unhappy. So, you know, has some childhood trauma that she had to work through, and she tried a lot of different things to, you know, build her self-confidence and build her self-worth and just a self-journey growth, which is difficult because like when you're young and you have these plans for your life, you're just so in it day in and day out. I don't know if it's until you get a little bit older where you're just like look back like, was I happy that whole time or was I just going through the motions and doing what I thought I wanted to do?
Yeah.
And there are people who actually reach their goals and still aren't happy or feel unfulfilled with whatever they're doing.
Yeah. And she reflects on having like self-destructive behaviors that led her to something has to change. And clearly it has to start with me. And just basically looking up things, talking to her friends, trying things, and then created a system that worked for her. And I mean, not everything applies to me, because obviously it's just her talking about what worked for her. But there are a lot of things that I think she makes the point of, you know, putting effort into yourself. You know, if like around where I am, she's talking about using Cleopatra as an inspiration for like putting effort into her looks. And she's like, you know, if the ruler of all of these people took time into looking like a total baddie, why wouldn't I do the same?
Yeah. Have you gotten to the bras where she talks about the...
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think I remember anything about bras.
Okay.
But it's kind of around the part where her and her friend moved to LA, and then that's when she kind of realized her friend and her mom, they're putting a lot of effort into their hair and their nails, and she's just like, what? Why? I don't understand. And then she also kind of tries to reconnect with her mom, and that ends up kind of like, I need to make peace with the fact that this is just not going to be this.
Right.
And that I have to teach myself how to do these things. So that's where I am in it, and I love it. I love everything about it.
It's an awesome book.
Such a great recommendation.
I'm glad. I loved it.
Obsessed with it, and I want the physical book in my hands.
Yeah.
Because this is a book that I know I'm going to be highlighting. I'm marking pages. I'm going to be taking notes, and there's just so many things. I'm listening to it, but I definitely need to. This is, I think, a book to study, not just read.
Yeah, I loved it. I read it when I was taking my trip to DC, and that was just like perfect time, like checking an item off my bucket list, doing a solo trip, and being in the airport and on the flight, and just any free time I had going to the hotel bar and sitting there and reading it. Like I felt like that was the perfect book to be reading for what I was actually doing and experiencing at that time.
Doing something for you.
Yeah.
By yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And just learning to accept life decisions that you've made and how to make better ones, and just really reflecting and looking at everything and just really like being thankful and practicing gratitude, because I think we spend a lot of time like wanting more. And I think it's good to want more. It stops you from being complacent. But I mean, you can't forget all the awesome things that you do have.
Yeah, always
You
thinking
know,
about what you don't have.
because like we're very blessed, and there are millions of people praying for what we have. Like we have so much more than so many people, and people who care about us and love us, and that's like you can't put a price on that.
I love it.
I'm glad.
I can't get enough of it. There's just so many things that God, there was something you just said. Oh, about gratitude. I like that she said just basically fake it till you make it. And that's something that I really don't like in life. But I like where she talks about just simply writing whatever you could possibly be thankful for. Eventually, you become more sensitive to the things you are actually grateful for.
Yep.
And then your list of things that are super superficial become actual things of gratitude. And you appreciate them so much more. I do have a couple of notes on that.
I thought I had one. Sorry, I was like looking it up while you were talking because I didn't want to forget. But
I mean, in your defense, you really weren't prepared to talk about it, so
like alone.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I'm thinking about big magic, but there was something I read saying like it's okay to not have gratitude for every single thing. It's so like it doesn't make you selfish to want more. Something along those lines. And I didn't want to butcher it. That's why I didn't want to say it without quoting it. But it wasn't saying like, oh, it's okay not to be grateful. But it was just saying it's okay to be grateful for something and still be upset about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's okay to still want more.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't always console yourself because I do that a lot. I'll be very frustrated with something like, you know what, but I'm really lucky to have this and I'm really lucky to have that. And like sometimes it's okay to just sit there and be like, I'm fucking mad about this, So
I want to get paid more. I want to travel more. Or I want this. Or it would really be nice if I had that. Or if I could this. That's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you ungrateful.
Right. Right.
It's normal to have greater aspirations.
You would hope. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in chapter 5, she says, fake gratitude until you feel gratitude. And then chapter 13, she said, I was barely present for a life I felt was happening to me. This is kind of talking, we're going to do like a merged book club. Sorry. That really spoke to me because there are so many days just being a single mom, schlepping people from here to there, working full time, that I do feel like I'm on autopilot.
Yeah.
I'm standing in the shower at the end of the day and I just feel like I'm not even in my own body. Like I almost feel like I'm watching a movie of somebody that's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And these two books I feel like are coming at a time where I need them the most. And I have to know that it's with purpose. And I really look forward to like the pivot year, knowing that I have 365 days of this.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to go back to it like every day for a year. I will have this thing to look forward to constantly what's the word that I'm looking for? Keep me tethered to my goals in my journey. And I have to also believe like kind of like the Mandela effect. I believe that at some point I'm going to feel like these things are just totally in line with what's happening at that time.
Yeah.
Like following it will probably be like, whoa, how did you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely want to go back and get a hard copy of it. Something like an overarching theme of the book, and I don't want to misquote it. I was trying to look for it, but Brianna speaks about just stepping. And the roads were brides to meet you, as it always does. Like, think back to a time in your life of doing something you were really scared or like worst possible scenario. No matter how horrible the thing was, if you didn't die, you made it through. It worked out some kind of way. So just, when you want to do something, don't let fear stop you from doing it, because it's easy to think of reasons why you shouldn't do something. Just step, you know? And Liz Gilbert says the same thing in Big Magic. She talks about leading a creative life. And she says, I'm not talking about you have to quit your job and become this major poet and go live in this like far off land. Maybe if you like creative writing, you just start writing for 30 minutes a day. That's you leading a creative life. Like, you don't always have to do this major, you know, gyration in your life to start like living a more fulfilling and valuable life, because, you know, you hear stories of people like, yeah, I quit my job and I spent all my savings on my dream. And it's almost like, damn, I don't want to spend all my savings on something, you know? So like,
I slept on my friend's couch for a month and look at me now. I'm a $1 million mogul. But I got kids.
Yeah.
I have a mortgage. And there's the quote I was looking for. I'm going to misquote it, but she basically says that if you won't allow somebody else to talk to you in this way, why would you talk to yourself that way?
Yeah.
Like beating yourself up and talking bad and criticizing yourself. And I just thought about it, I'm like, I definitely wouldn't let somebody come at me sideways.
Yeah.
So why am I constantly beating myself up?
Yeah.
In a way that I know I wouldn't let somebody else, and just shutting that voice down and saying, not today, sis. Go take several seats because I'm not in the mood for it. And basically being able to shut that voice down just as quickly as I would anybody else. And I was like, girl, we are on one. We are on this journey, and I am here for all of it.
Yeah, because we are very hard on ourselves. I know I'm very hard on myself internally, very hard. And I wouldn't let anybody talk to me the way I talk to myself.
Yeah.
And I also wouldn't like be as hard as on someone else as I am on myself too. I would be very understanding and like, no, they were doing this or they were doing that. But with me, I just get very, you know, but I always say nobody can be harder on me than I'm going to be harder on me. But I also give myself grace in some ways too. And and one of my journal, remember I told you the other day off camera that I was going through like an old journal that I started last year. And, like, one of my journal prompts that I found online was basically like, write down your strengths and write down your weaknesses. There are 2 different journal prompts. And for my weaknesses, as I was reading through them, one of them I wrote down was like, one of my weaknesses is trying to find a positive spin on all of my weaknesses. Like,
I love that.
I literally took every weakness that I wrote down and turned right around and been like, but I do it because blah, blah, blah. So really it's kind of a good thing. And that was the last weakness I wrote, like trying to turn my weaknesses.
Spoken like a true professional. That is like, that's what they say to do in interviews though. They basically say, you know, when they ask you those things, spin it into a positive.
Yeah.
You're hired.
That's like the main thing to look out for, like in a job interview. What is your biggest weakness? Like, oh, I care too much. And I trying to like, you know, compliment yourself but make it sound like a no.
Oh, sometimes I just do so much. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think one of my weaknesses was just like, you know, like expecting the worst out of people, I guess. And I was like, but I mean, people can be very blah, blah, blah sometimes. Like I was doing stuff like that with everything I had. It was like, but
justifying
blah, blah, blah.
all of it. I have a reason for all my flaws.
But I could laugh reading at it at that time. And I must have done the same thing when I was writing it. Because I was like, well, at least you're objective. Like, final weakness.
That's hilarious.
I can turn all my weaknesses into a positive if I try.
So I have a question for you. We haven't spoken about allegedly.
No,
and
we haven't.
Was waiting for today also to talk about that.
So this book club title is going to be Pivot Year, but people are going to see that
that's okay.
Tima didn't read Pivot Year. And they started talking about like random other books, Big Magic and Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies. So yeah, you recommended Allegedly, and I really liked it. So I think when you first said it, it was like, Mary something something killed a baby.
Mary B. Addison killed a baby.
And I was like, I can't read this. Like, this can't be something but I was intrigued, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all.
So good. the ending, I was like, oh, I inhaled.
I went through the whole book just so angry at the mom, and so all directions pointed to that.
Yeah.
And then the end, you find out.
Yeah. Yes. That's good stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, spoiler, allegedly is about a girl who's, how old was she in the book? Like,
she's a teen. She's like 15,
16, I think. Yeah, so
she has a birthday in there.
She's a 15, 16-year-old, but when she was, 9 years old, her and her mother were babysitting a baby. The baby ends up dying, and Mary went to jail for it, essentially, at 9 years old. Sad.
And just to hear, now it was pretty horrible to hear, like, her accounts of the event.
Yeah. I listened to the book. I didn't read it, and I liked all the voices. I think they did a very good job of that. It's just, very intriguing story.
But people were really upset by the ending. Like, when I started looking it up on TikTok after I had listened to it, and there was a lot of controversy. People were like, I love the book. I fucking hate the ending. How dare she? And even the author was like, look, you happen to see me in public, I don't want to hear about it.
Wow.
Like, this is the way that I wrote it. And I personally, I wouldn't have wanted it to end any other way.
I think it ended great. Based on the content of the book. I like an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
I appreciate that in a book. I don't feel like it's a throwaway or a waste.
Yeah, so I highly recommend the Bes-teas. Listen to it, read it. I think you're going to enjoy it.
I think so too. There's some trigger warnings, so, beware of that, but
definitely.
Yeah, good book if you can handle it. Yep.
All right, well, so sorry about that, by the way. I just had to throw that out. So for our next book club, we're going to do The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So listen to it, read it, whichever you prefer. It was recommended by my cousin, and she said that it was a great book. So
I'm excited to read it.
Same.
I'm excited to read it.
I don't know. What? Did I? What?
No, just a stab at you for not finishing this book.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like, are you on a loop? Is this like a little crack in the matrix?
Like, I'm not editing yet. What's happening right now?
I thought there's like a glitch. What's happening? Yeah, I think it's going to be a great read. We're going to go Bes-teas. Getting crazy. All right, Bes-teas, we will see you in the next episode. Like, subscribe, share. Follow us on all social media platforms, minus Twitter, because,
we're not there.
Yeah, no. We don't have that much energy. All right, Bes-teas, we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.